Well, we may find out in just a few hours if the European Union is getting a 28th member.
The potential newcomer is Croatia. The former Yugoslav republic has completed entry talks in 31 out of 35 policy areas. The last one to have received the green light is the fishing policy.
Croatia has a population of approximately 4.5 million, roughly the same as the Republic of Ireland.
It's ruled by a coalition led by the Prime Minister Jadranka Kosor and her Croatian Democratic Party, a centre-right party. The next election is due this year. All parties back EU membership.
It needs unanimous backing from the rest of the EU in order to join, and it could get final agreement on its accession in just over 2 weeks when European leaders meet.
It would join Europe officially in 2 years from now. On the economic front, Croatia is contracting at the moment. GDP shrank by almost 1% last quarter, while the Eurozone grew.
Inflation, though, is slower than in the rest of Europe. Consumer prices rose 2.4% in April. Well, one obstacle to its EU entry is unemployment. 18% of Croats are out of work. Only Spain has a higher rate in the European Union.
More on Croatia's accession to the EU. Let's talk to Marko Remenar. He's a member of the management board at the country's largest lender, Zagrebacka Banka. He joins us on the phone from Zagreb. Marko, good to talk to you. What would be the immediate consequences if Croatia were to join the EU tomorrow?
Well, firstly, allow me to say that I think this is a huge political achievement for our country, and it's important for business, but for the Croatian society as a whole. We do certainly expect that the implications for the economy will be extremely positive, and we do expect that closing of these negotiations will immediately provide a much-needed stimulus for the economic recovery in the country. First of all, we will definitely have improved access to EU single market. This should boost exports. They are key to growth. Competition from EU producers will also increase. Consumers should benefit. So we do expect huge benefits from these closing of negotiations.
Marko, it's Linzie here. I wonder, do you have any reservations about joining the EU, given the problems right now with the sovereign debt crisis?
Well, actually, in the context of the current Eurozone crisis, I would expect that the fiscal policies will be monitored more closely for the countries such as ours, who wish to join also the Eurozone at some later stage in the future. So this should actually boost the credibility of the macroeconomic policies we are running in Croatia over the medium term, which should also then positively be reflected in the lower cost of financing for the sovereign, for the private sector. And this all especially should be fueled if structural reforms are accelerated after this year's general election. So I would say that given the overall situation in the Eurozone, we would still like to join.
Yeah, maybe you'd also like to join because Croatia is still the only country in the region actually still in recession. Why do you think things are quite so bad? You've got pretty bad unemployment, as we were just hearing as well.
Well, first of all, we have to know that we have entered the recession a little bit later than the rest of the European countries. So I would expect that we would exit also at a later stage. We also have some structural reforms that were badly needed in the country, which we are finally now performing. So we do expect that we should see a recovery in the second and third quarter of this year.
Now, there are already concerns that maybe Bulgaria, Romania, concerns certainly in Western Europe that they were admitted to the EU too early. Do you worry that you're going to have a real problem convincing the other countries that have to endorse unanimously your accession to persuading them that another Eastern European country is ready to join? Do you think that maybe there's a bit of anti-Eastern European prejudice out there?
Well, because of the Romanian and Bulgarian situation, our negotiations have been lasting the longest of all countries before. So we have been negotiating for 10 years. And we have had some additional chapters to all of the previous countries. Also, it's been mentioned that we will have some kind of monitoring until we formally join the EU as well. So even though perhaps there is a slight prejudice towards the Eastern European countries, I think the EU has established mechanisms through the negotiations and out to this monitoring, which will make sure that they will get a member who is eligible to be part of this club.
OK, Marko Remenar, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us here on Bloomberg.